Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most terrifying near misses of the Cold War. A civilian flight that veered off course, was mistaken for a spy plane, and ended in a tragedy that nearly escalated into full-blown conflict. This is the story of Korean Airlines Flight 007. Before we get into it, don't forget, giving this video a like and subscribing really helps the channel grow. If you enjoy this kind of content and want more, that's the best way to support what we're doing. On September 1st, 1983, Korean Airlines Flight 007, a Boeing 747 carrying 269 people, was flying from New York City to Seoul, South Korea, with a stopover in Anchorage, Alaska. The passengers on board included families, business people, and a U.S. Congressman, Larry McDonald. What was supposed to be a routine trans-Pacific flight would instead become one of the most shocking aviation incidents in history. Shortly after taking off from Anchorage, Flight 007 made a small but fatal navigation error. The aircraft was supposed to follow a specific air route, R20, but instead it deviated slightly, following a nearly parallel path that took it increasingly off course. Over the next several hours, the plane unknowingly drifted further from its intended route and straight into Soviet airspace, an act that, during the Cold War, was seen as serious provocation. What's disturbing is that no one on board, neither the pilots nor ground control, noticed the deviation. Due to the aircraft's navigation systems and the lack of proper monitoring, Flight 007 was hundreds of miles off course by the time anyone realized what was happening. As the plane entered Soviet airspace near the Kamchatka Peninsula, Soviet radar picked up the unidentified aircraft. At the time, tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union were already high. The Soviets had seen increased U.S. reconnaissance flights in the area, and they were on alert for any potential threats. They scrambled fighter jets to intercept what they believed could be a U.S. spy plane. Unfortunately, their assumptions weren't random. U.S. reconnaissance planes like the RC-135 did fly near Soviet territory and looked similar to the Boeing 747 on radar. As Flight 007 exited Kamchatka and entered another restricted Soviet zone near Sakhalin Island, a Soviet Su-15 interceptor, piloted by Major Gennady Osipovich, was sent to identify and, if necessary, destroy the target. Osipovich made visual contact with the aircraft and flew alongside it, but he reported that the plane did not respond to his signals or maneuvers. Here's where things took a disastrous turn. Osipovich claimed he fired warning shots to get the aircraft's attention, though it's unclear if they were visible. Given the altitude, darkness, and speed, it's highly likely the pilots didn't notice anything wrong. With no response from the aircraft, and convinced it was an American spy plane violating Soviet airspace, Osipovich was given the order to engage. At 3:26 a.m. local time, Osipovich launched 2 air-to-air missiles. One detonated near the tail of Flight 007. The aircraft was badly damaged and began to descend. Within minutes, it crashed into the Sea of Japan, killing all 269 people on board. No one survived. The world reacted in shock. The United States condemned the Soviet Union, calling it a deliberate act of murder. President Reagan was outraged and accused the Soviets of knowingly targeting civilians. The Soviet Union, meanwhile, claimed the plane was on a spy mission and insisted it was defending its borders. In the days that followed, the Soviets recovered the flight data and cockpit voice recorders, but they kept them secret. It wasn't until the early 1990s, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, that the tapes were released. The recordings confirmed the worst. The crew of Flight 07 had no idea they had entered Soviet airspace. There was no spy mission, just a tragic error. One chilling fact is that just before being shot down, Flight 007 had passed near a U.S. reconnaissance aircraft in the same region. This likely added to Soviet paranoia and contributed to their aggressive response. The timing could not have been worse. The political fallout was intense. The U.S. cut off communications with the Soviets, and Cold War tensions escalated further. In response to the incident, President Reagan ordered that the U.S. military's Global Positioning System, GPS, be made available for civilian use, so that such navigational mistakes could be avoided in the future. It's ironic that a technology we now rely on daily was unlocked because of such a tragic event. GPS is everywhere today, in our cars, phones, and planes, but its roots are tied to this moment of crisis. The downing of Korean Airlines Flight 007 is a chilling reminder of how close we came to a much larger catastrophe. It wasn't just a mistake. It was a deadly combination of poor communication, Cold War paranoia, and human error. Flight 007's passengers were victims of more than just a missile. They were caught between two superpowers, each suspicious of the other, each armed to the teeth, and each ready to act on fear. Their story is a stark warning about how quickly things can spiral out of control when diplomacy is replaced by distrust. This tragedy is often overlooked in the long history of the Cold War, but it deserves to be remembered, not just as a loss of innocent life, but as one of the many times we stood at the edge of something far worse and somehow stepped back. If you found this helpful, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon for more content like this. This is J03. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.